Japan Journal, the Internet's #1 English language weekly online cybercast from Japan. Japan Journal with Mal Adams.
Madison County, Alabama. A group of Madison County men are calling for people to boycott the NFL. 7 church leaders and Oakland University's president are asking people to join their cause. Pastor DeBlair Snell said they're boycotted because of Colin Kaepernick. Kaepernick made headlines when he took a knee during the national anthem during the 2016 NFL season. He did this to kind of raise awareness to the number of brown and black that have been beaten or killed in the hands of law enforcement in the USA. As of now, Kaepernick hasn't been signed for the 2017 NFL season. Snell says he finds that strange, seeing that the NFL has employed individuals convicted of animal abuse, driving under the influence, domestic violence. Some NFL owners have reportedly stated they haven't hired Kaepernick because of fears of backlash. African Americans make up 15% of the NFL's viewership, and Snell believes Kaepernick not being signed sends a message. He stated that even though they're going to silence one who stood up to values that have meaning to African Americans, the NFL has expectations that African Americans are still going to be there on opening day watching and patronizing their product. Snell believes that if Kaepernick can take a knee for minorities, then minorities can stand up with him. The group of community leaders and ministers are asking people to join their cause and boycott the NFL. Oakwood University President Leslie Pollard says this protest is not anti-flag because people of color love the Stars and Stripes. It's not anti-American because people of color have loved this country even when this country has not loved us back. End quote. Their cause is #Blackout NFL. The group has hosted a viral video talking about why they have decided to boycott a sport they all love. What we wanted to do was to create a movement, a call to pastors, churches, leaders throughout the city and throughout the country to join this blackout, according to Snell. He says it's not about a football thing. He says it's much bigger than football. The movement has grown rapidly, and the men already have a lot of support, but there are people against them as well. Snell says to them, for those people that disagree, tomorrow it could be your perspective or your worldview or your philosophy that comes under fire. So instead of watching football on Sundays, they're asking people to do community service, help spread their message, and pray. They're asking everyone to join their cause regardless of their race, and other churches around the country are reportedly reaching out to join their cause. More information about the movement can be found on their Facebook page at Blackout NFL. On this edition of Japan Journal, we're taking a deeper look at the controversy with an eye toward generating support and understanding for what we believe is a worthy cause. We begin our coverage with an interview between 2 celebrities with whom I've been able to have chatted and interviewed and become acquainted with over the years. Singer-songwriter, internationally entertainer, and human rights activist, Mr. Harry Belafonte. In this upcoming clip from TV One, owned and operated by my home girl, Kathy Hughes, Belafonte is interviewed by my friend and colleague, Roland Martin of TV One's News One Now. Following the interview, we will show the video by NFL Blackout, and this video is going viral on social media. You may have seen it. All this coming to you right now on Japan Journal with Mal Adams, the Internet's #1 English language online cybercast from Japan. Japan Journal.
Mr. B, we have professional athletes. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul, Carmelo Anthony. They stand up at the ESPYs and they talk about athletic involvement, social issues. We have Colin Kaepernick, plays for San Francisco 49ers. He decides, I'm not going to stand up to the national anthem. Being attacked all across the country. In fact, Mike Freeman wrote this piece for the Bleacher Report. Came out on August 31st, where NFL front office executives said, he's a traitor. F that guy. I will quit if my owner asked me to sign him. There's no way I would want this guy on my team. If their comments are true, San Francisco cuts him, no team ever signs him. Does that become a chilling effect for the next athlete who decides to take a stand? And how should the public respond to these kind of anonymous comments from NFL front office executives?
To mute the slave has always been to the best interests of the slave owner. And I think that when a black voice is raised in protest to oppression, those who are comfortable with our oppression are the first to criticize us for daring to speak out against it. I think that it's a noble thing that he's done. I think that speaking out and making people aware of the fact that you are paying homage to an anthem that also has a constituency that by the millions suffer is a righteous thing to do. The fact that these people are having these, how dare you speak out against lynching and all of the things that that racism stands for, or the conclusions to racist acts permit, I think is a statement about America. I think he's a noble and a courageous man for having done that. Now, I say this with some history of my own. I was at the height of American success, hit records and movies and being rewarded by millions of people coming in attendance to the audiences that I played around the world. The machinery of oppression was always at work trying to discredit me, make me a communist, make me unpatriotic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it takes a lot of courage to stand up in the face of that onslaught, that reactive moment, and not bend to the wind. What I would love to see is I would love to see a few hundred other black athletes take that as a symbol. It doesn't affect the game. It doesn't affect the way it's going to be played. It just tells you a lot about what the people on the field are thinking in their every waking moment.
So you're saying you would love to see athletes today rally around him, like that group of black athletes, Jim Brown, Bill Russell, and others, when they rallied around Muhammad Ali?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, the black community, now let me go further than that, the American community, the citizens of this nation are beautifully enhanced by being exposed to the fact that there's this dissatisfaction and that there's something they can do about fixing it. And I think that what he has done not only comes out of a tradition of protest, but I think is one of the most important weapons we have.
But he also says this 44 years after Jackie Robinson wrote it. Jackie Robinson wrote, in his own words, in his autobiography, he said, he talked about that first World Series he performed in. And he said, he stood there and they were playing the national anthem and they were singing and the flag is billowing in the wind. And he said, as I write this 20 years later, I cannot stand and sing the anthem. I cannot salute the flag. I know that I am a black man in a white world in 1972, in 1947, at my birth in 1919. I know that I never had it made.
Not only was he right in a righteous way, as well as in a historic way, but I think that what Jackie Robinson did encouraged an awful lot of other players that came after him to stand with dignity and to stand with strength in the face of that kind of debate. I'm just sorry to see that more black people who have attained the level of success. I once said to a group of young black artists, I said, never before has America boasted of such a harvest of celebrity as we experience today across the boards. We have more black artists with hit records and in front of show business and on all the charts. We have black athletes up the yin-yang in almost every sport. We have so many where black celebrity is displayed that could make a difference. And yet never has there been such an absence of black celebrity voice in relationship to the problems that black people face today in a severe way. I'm amazed at the fact that with Trayvon Martin and any number of people who have been murdered and who have been shot down and who are the victims of a certain kind of unrepentant racist behavior, that black people haven't flooded the streets in a greater act of protest to all of this that's going on. Ethel Randolph once said, if you are comfortable with my oppression, then you are my oppressor.
That says a whole lot right there.
Houston Texans, I'm blacking you out. The Atlanta Falcons, I am blacking you out. Washington, I'm blacking you out. Dallas Cowboys, I'm blacking you out.
Titans, I'm blacking you out. I'm blacking you out. I'm blacking you out.
I'm blacking you out.
I'm blacking you out. NFL, we're blacking you out.
In 2016, NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick engaged in a silent, non-violent protest. Colin Kaepernick simply decided to take a knee during the playing of the national anthem at NFL games. He did this to kind of raise awareness to the number of brown and black individuals that had been beaten or killed at the hands of law enforcement across this country. Since the end of last season, as a result of this protest, Colin Kaepernick has been unable to find employment in the NFL. I find that strange, seeing that the NFL has employed individuals that have been convicted of sexual assault, domestic violence, cruelty to animals, along with driving while under the influence. A number of NFL owners have come out and stated the reason they can't employ him is because of a fear of a backlash from sponsors or a certain segment of their fan base. And it's interesting that they've capitulated thus far to a certain segment of the fan base while fearing no backlash from the African American community. The African American community makes up 15% of the NFL's overall viewership. And I find it interesting that they've made the calculation that states that even though they're going to silence one who stood up for values that have meaning to us, they have an expectation that African Americans are still going to be there on opening day, watching and patronizing their product. My belief is simply this: if Colin Kaepernick was willing to take a stand for those of us who are non-celebrities that would have to interact with law enforcement on a day-to-day basis, if he's willing to take a knee for us, certainly we ought to take a stand and stand with him. I think it's important that we take some action steps.
As long as Kaepernick is without a job, we refuse to watch the NFL. We refuse to purchase any NFL paraphernalia endorsed by the NFL, and we refuse to engage in fantasy football.
As a church community, we commit 1 to 2 hours each Sunday for the next 17 weeks of football to pour in to our African American boys and girls. We will do this whether he is employed or not. Let's take the time that would normally be given to the NFL and give back to our boys and girls.
Spread the word to other men that we speak the language that the NFL responds to: money. Let us make it clear that since our lives matter so little to them, their product will matter even less to us.
We take a knee as Kaepernick did. We devote this season to prayer each morning, 6 a.m. for our youth, communities, local and government officials.
This is not a boycott, but a man-cott, because this demonstration is not for boys, it's for men of strong conviction.
Now, we want you to know this protest is not anti-flag, because people of color love the Stars and Stripes. It is not anti-American, because people of color have loved this country even when this country has not loved us back. And this protest is not anti-veteran, because we support those who have made sacrifices so that our liberties have been secured. This protest is to ensure the rights of all Americans, regardless of color or creed, to be heard.
Together we stand united against discrimination in all its forms. We're making a call to people of conscience, regardless of race, religion, or creed, who are able to recognize injustice and join us in this blackout. It is a call to all pastors, leaders, and churches, not just to look at what's happening as a black problem, but as an American problem.
We black out hatred. We mourn for our brothers and sisters in Charlottesville, Virginia. We pray for the healing of that community, along with the healing of our nation.
Up through 2014, the NFL had what they call blackout policies. When a stadium in a particular city had failed to sell out all of its tickets, they would black out the game so it couldn't be shown on that local market. They would force the fans to the stadium to buy the tickets. Today, we're forcing the hands of the NFL. We're saying that there are some values that we have that matter and they count. And so, NFL, we want you to know that we're going to black you out. I'm making a call to pastors, leaders, my brothers, all people of conscience, regardless of your race or your background, to join us in this blackout. I want to be clear that I'm a football fan. I played it most of my life growing up, and there's rarely a Sunday that I've missed in my adult years. But there comes a point in time where I've got to prioritize my convictions more than my entertainment value. And let me be clear that this thing is bigger than Colin Kaepernick. He took a stand for an issue that's uniquely valuable to African Americans. But tomorrow, it could be your liberties, your perspective, your worldview that's at stake. He is symbolic of all of us. Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us. Join us. Join us.
We're going to black you out. You're on the clock.
So it is time for us to make that change. Time for righteous indignation. Time for promoting universal love among all people. Time to educate the youth and unify the people who hate bigotry and hatred. Time to enhance spirituality among the righteous, and time for sharing positive vibrations through music, which promotes all of these above through its lyrics and message. That's my agenda for these days and beyond. Join me, won't you? I'm Brother Malcolm in Japan for Japan Journal.
Japan Journal, the Internet's #1 English language weekly online cybercast from Japan. Japan Journal with Mal Adams.